What's going on, guys? Nealguides here. Welcome back to another exclusive video for Footbin. Now in today's video we're going to go with a 4-1-2-1-2 second variation. One of my favourite formations and a staple throughout all iterations of FIFA. But why the 4-1-2-1-2 second variation is because you attack in a very narrow structure. Now for those that like playing quick tiki-taka, quick passes and want players that are close by, the 4-1-2-1-2 second variation is definitely the formation for you. Although you lack the wing play, you can always bring your left back and right back forward by triggering them forward if you want to. But this is mainly for those that want to play very, very narrow and concentrate your attack down the middle. Equally defending, you also defend in a very narrow structure inside the middle of the pitch. So if you like closing out the middle areas and you don't mind your opponent having the ball down the wing, then this is definitely a formation for you. Now this is an attacking system, so I'm going to walk you through the tactics and explain to you why I have things in a certain place and also what you can change to adjust it for your playstyle. Now I would recommend pressure on heavy touch. Now I like to think of this as the midway between balanced and press on possession loss. With this one, your stamina gets taken back a little bit and you press all the time and your opponent can sometimes read it. I like to think of pressure on heavy touch being balanced, but when there's a good chance you win the ball, your team or your AI kind of kick in together and they start pressing together as a unit. Now, I would recommend pressure on every touch. If you don't like it, feel free to use balanced. But if you like to be a bit more aggressive, I'll say pressure on every touch. Now, for the defensive width, contrary to belief, if you make the width 100, people think you defend your 4-1-2-1-2 in a wide 4-1-2-1-2. It doesn't work like that. All this means is you will structurally stay in a 4-1-2-1-2, but the players will be a bit more wider. So we got one 55, not too narrow, but nor we too wide. And the depth we go in 65, so pretty high up the pitch. Not so much, you don't want to go too high. Remember, don't go towards the 80s or 90s because you don't want to get a through ball in behind or you could very much be in trouble. I think 65 is a good balance because you combine these three together because you want to use pressure on heavy touch to win the ball back high up the pitch with quite, because don't forget the 4-1-2-1-2 is quite a narrow formation. So the idea is press when you have a good chance, win the ball back high up the pitch, perfect for those counter attacks. Now, talking about counter-attacks, one thing you can use in combination is fast build-up play. So the idea is when you lose the ball, you'll press your opponent high up the pitch, you'll win the ball back high up the pitch, and with fast build-up play, when you get that ball back, depending on where you are on the pitch, if especially in your first two-thirds, your team will rush, surge forward. So if you do like those quick counter-attacks, those quick tiki-taka 1-2s, everyone going forward, then fast build-up play is the way for you. If you prefer more of a conservative approach, I would actually recommend balanced. Balanced, I think, is a pretty well worked system with the 4-1-2-1-2 second variation. So I would recommend balanced if you don't like to be as aggressive or you're a bit more slow and progressive in your build-up play. Now for the chance creation, I've gone with direct passing. Direct passing is really the go-to, I think, for both old generation and new generation. It just works very well with the 4-1-2-1-2 second variation. You see a lot of pros using this as well. It's one of my favorites just because of the way the players position themselves inside the box. And don't forget, you do have that two strikers and you have that cam and the left centre mid and right centre mid providing you with attacking options as well going forward. For the attacking offensive width, we've left it on 50. It doesn't really matter too much. The only thing I would say is with this one, you can feel free to use this, go like extreme on a high or extreme on a low because you are at the end of the day attacking the 4-1-2-1-2 second variation. There's no wingers, so you can't really make the formation extremely wide anyway, but 50 is a good balance. Now, talking about the players inside the box, I would recommend 5. 5 is a good balance, and if you want to, you can always adjust individually to allow the players to get inside the box with the instructions. But I think with this formation, 5 is a good balance and you can always adjust it if you want to. Corners and free kicks, I leave them personally on 1 because I passed mine, but feel free to increase these and decrease these as you want to. If you like, but don't forget, don't go too extreme. I'd say maybe 4 or 5, but again, like I said, I passed my corners and free kicks. Now it comes to the instructions. Now, this is again my personal preference. I would say for both strikers, I put them on stay forward. Now, I would recommend putting both of them on getting behind as well. You want ideally quick strikers that got really, really good sprint speed, good pace. I'd recommend maybe one that's maybe a bit more agile and maybe one that's a bit more clunky like a Ben Yedder and a Ronaldo as an example. I prefer 2 agile players that are pretty quick, that have got good agility and balance for that maneuverability and that quick 1-2s. So that's what I'll say for both the strikers. They're both on stay forward. Now, for the cam, this is my personal opinion. I'd recommend leaving them on stay forward. If you're comfortable with defending, you can defend with a 3 and have the other 3 up front. So the idea behind having a counter-attack formation is that you have your cam ready. So as soon as you get the ball, you can do a pass to your cam and you can link up the triangle with your front. That's the way I like to use this formation, using your 2 strikers and your cam. So I got my cam on stay forward and get into the box for cross if I do get the ball with my right centre mid or my right back down the wing, or the same on the other side. Now, for the left centre mid and right centre mid, now this is where you have, again, a bit of free roam. Now, I would recommend cover centre for both of them. If you can put them on cover centre when you defend, you're going to defend in a structural 4-1-2-1-2, narrow in the central areas of the pitch. This is one of the key ways of defending with this formation. What I would recommend is, depending on who you have. Now, I personally always like to play a more attacking player, someone like a winger on the right-hand side or left-hand side. So one of these players, I put a winger. Someone like Son, who's got good stats, he's got very good work rates, but also he's got decent passing. So I think of him like the extra striker running forward when I win the ball backwards. So I actually leave him on get inside the box for a cross, and I leave his attack support on balanced. Try to get someone who's got high medium or high work rates here. Now for the other centre mid, I also leave that person on balance. Now I have Valverde here. If you struggle defensively with a 4-1-2-1-2, which is quite common because normally you find yourself isolated with just one player being your CDM back when you lose the ball, you can always put this player on stay back while attacking. And that way when you go forward, you can have 2 players on stay back. So you'll have your left centre mid, or in this case Valverde, just in front of Vieira. So you have that defensive stability if you do lose the ball going forward. If you want to make it more attacking, as I said, you can of course leave this player on balanced. I'd recommend leaving on balance first. If you find that you struggle defensively, then you can leave him on stay back while attacking. The CDM, probably the most important player on the pitch, is going to be the player that's going to really cut out those key interceptions, be that last minute player protecting your back four, cut passing lanes, stay back while attacking, and cover centre is what I'd recommend for the CDM. You want someone here who's got medium high work rates, or even low high. You want someone who's got a good pace, so no one with 50 sprint speed. I'm talking about, I would say 80 sprint speed minimum with the shadow is ideally what you should be looking for. That's got good defensive awareness. Someone like Vieira, someone like the wildcard Kante, for example. Anyone that's got good stats defensively, I would say works in well here. But the key thing is pace. For the left centre mid, as I said, you can either go with a balance, like a Valverde, pretty much box to box, a Llorente, or you can go with a Marquisio or someone more attacking as well, or even a Yaya Toure. Now, for the back line, we have them on stay back for both the centre back default for the goalkeeper and the 2 centre backs. The left back, I got them on stay back overlap for both of them. Now, if you want to, and what my recommendation would be is, you can always trigger these players yourself manually with the L1 button. That's what I'd recommend. So I'd recommend going for players like Cancelo, the left back, that plays for Man City, or someone like, for example, Tecatito, as you can see over here, who's got really, really good overall stats. So you can, of course, push them forward if you want to. What overlap means is they'll just stay on the outside. That is all that overlap means, but they won't go forward. If you want them to go forward, you can leave these on balanced, but I personally leave them on stay back while attacking, and I can always trigger them myself with the L1 or the LB button inside the game. And that is probably my basic 4-1-2-1-2 second variation. I know there's different variations you can make. For example, the 4-1-2-1-2 second variation, defending a 4-4-2. You see some players, they prefer to have, for example, the left back and right back going forward, and they leave, for example, the left centre mid or right centre mid on cover wing to cover for them when they're out of position. There's many ways you could alter the formation, but this is the good structural base. Then if you want to, you can always change it. So if you come back to this video and you're like, okay, you know what, maybe this is a bit too attacking for me, you can put one of your other centre mids on stay back while attacking, for example, and maybe you can, for example, instead of your, let's say your cam, you can maybe leave them on, come back on defense as well if you want that more defense stability. But I would say, as I said, the tactics that I mentioned, use that as a staple and then make the fine tuning yourself. That is how you make a formation work perfectly for yourself. You get a good template. Then once template, you adapt things to your playstyle, because as I said, there may be some of you that might find pressure on heavy touch amazing. It might be brilliant for you because you might be able to aggressively win the ball back high up the pitch with teammate contain. But some of you may find it to be a bit too aggressive for your liking, and you may prefer balanced, so you ensure that stability. But anyway, guys, that is the 4-1-2-1-2 custom tactics, second variation, custom tactics and instructions.